How to start with HTML and CSS. How to connect CSS to HTML file. Or what are the most used syntax and code are used in making a web page or website. We will have the answer of these questions from this web page we will make using HTML and CSS, where we will show the most used HTML and CSS codes. Okay, so we'll follow a step by step for everything required to start HTML and CSS file. So as you know, for HTML we need a .html uh, file. So .html, so we can actually open this index.html with our Visual Studio Code. Instead of from this place, I'm going to actually use command command cmd, so that I can run the live server extension. So for that, just only code space dot, this will open our code editor. And if you yes, I trust the authors. If you see here, I already have this uh, live preview extension is already installed. That is why I have this go live option below. Here, this one is more than 3 million downloads. You can check this one out. Let me put some text here so that you can see our live server is working fine. Hello. Okay, and now go live. This will take a little bit of 5 to 10 seconds, and then this will start. Okay, so what we will learn today, let me actually first go through that process. So then we'll move on to our, this is the project we are going to build, where we'll have use image, we will have navigation menu, and we'll have this h tag and paragraph tag. If we want to have pre-arranged format for the text, we can do that. We'll have the button, unordered list, ordered list, table and table span, row span, column span, and lastly we will have this form. So also at the same time we will use a little bit of styling CSS, so that we can see how the CSS also works along with HTML. So first, instead of document, let's change this document to our simple CSS landing page, actually HTML and CSS. Okay, and then let me create another file here, which will be style.css. Here we will style all the elements. I gave a little bit of background color to antique white. Now we need to link up this link to the my copilot recommended me to CSS folder, but we did not actually create any CSS folder. Other we just isn't created in our current folder, so we do not need to go anything. As you can see, when I press Ctrl S and I save this, my background color changed to aqua white. I'll change this, I'll remove this part, but as you can see, my CSS is working perfectly alright. So let's remove this hello, we do not need this one anymore, and create a header tag. Inside of this header tag we will import a image. This image name is quite big. I think I actually did not import this image. Let me, oh no, I actually did. This is the image. You can actually create assets folder for image and fonts, and you can create style or CSS folder for all the CSS file you will have. Since we do not have much images or anything else, using this same folder for everything. So if we save now, you can see our this logo is coming right up. Okay, since we will move step by step, so let me go to the style and remove this one. First, create body will have the font family of Arial and sans serif, margin 0, padding 0, box sizing border box, and background color to a little bit of white. So if we press Ctrl and S, then this whole all margin and padding we had, we already removed that. And just the part that we recently created header section, for that we are going to have this background color of a little bit of dark, and font color will be white. Padding, actually we do not need the color because we are not using anything, we are only using this logo. So text align center, it will make our items to centered. Now for the next section, we will have our nav navigation menu. So for that we will using nav tag, and inside this syntax we are creating three link. So each of them is a href to hero section. This is actually so that later, if we, since we do not have many pages, we only have different sections, so each section I will give different unique id, and when we click on this link, uh, that section will go instantly to that section. So if we save, as you can see, this is our link. Let me actually create another link so that I can show you something. Mostly link is used. This is the ahref, https www.google.com, and target blank. So for this one, if we save, as you can see, we have this Google text, or this is a little bit of color or color, we can control that from CSS and we'll show that. But if you see, I click on this, then it is, instead of moving, creating, it is actually creating a new page, new tab, and then it is going to the targeted link. This is not going directly because of this target blank for this attribute. So this will be helpful, so if you want to keep your users to your website, and you do not want your users to leave your website directly when they click on any link. Now for the styling part of this navigation menu, we have this nav tag. We are targeting this nav tag and display flex, justify content center, background color, little bit of dark, and padding 10 pixel. You can actually also understand flex items from this CSS, and then every a or link, every element of navigation color will be white, text decoration will be none, so that this bluish and this underline goes away. Padding 10 pixel top bottom and left right 20 pixel, margin 0, and top bottom and left right is 10 pixel. Transition color, it will take a 0.3 seconds to appear. Okay, and when we hover over this um, links, we will change color to a little bit of orange or yellow. I don't know, I do not know much about colors actually. As you can see, when we hover our mouse over this navigation menu, we see a different colors. Okay, now let's go back and create another section under the snap menu. We created a section and we give them an ID of hero section, class hero section. We'll not actually give every section we create next to same ID and classes, but this will be helpful so that when you click on this actually it will actually directly go to this part. Next, inside of this heroes section ID, we have created this h1, which is basic overview of HTML and CSS. So if we click on here, you can see all the text is showing as a bold and a little bit bigger than normal text. In different text we already have here. This is because h1 is heading 1, so we have h1 to h6, h2, h3, h4, h5, h6. Each of these tag will keep the text a little bit bolder and a little bit of bigger size, which will be easy to understand, a little bit of eye catching. Then we created a p tag. This is actually p tag. This is only text inside of this p tag, and if we click, as you can see, we have this text. And at the same time, let me show you something more we use in inside of this p tag, actually not only inside of p tag, any text or any format we use kind of like bold or abbreviation we want. For example, this ABBR tag, this is for abbreviation, so this will have a title name of World Wide Web. You can actually use different and use title for that attribute. And if we save this, we have this www here, and if we move our mouse over here, you can see www is stands for World Wide Web. We can see that tooltip, so this is called tooltip. This will be helpful for any text you want to show a little bit of more about those text or any information actually. And if you see, I have created two beer tag. Now let's say I want to actually use from this one, from here I want to move the text to the next line, but I cannot do that directly. Even if I press enter multiple times, our file will not take that. If I click on, as you can see, dollar in next to dollar, I created many enter, right? I pressed many enter, but no space was created. But where I used br tag, this is stands for break. This will give two breakpoint to the push the text to the next line. Or not only text, this br tag will break the element and create a new line. This is for line break. Now for the CSS for this hero section, let me, below this nav section we created dot hero section, the class we have, give a background color of light black, font color of white. For the font color, this is only color, text align center, padding top and bottom 100 pixel, left and right 0, transition background color 0.5 seconds. Then for the h1 of this hero section, so for that class hero section and then space h1, this will target only this h1 tag we had, margin bottom 20 pixel, so that it will give it a little bit of margin bottom, and font size we will make it a little bit larger. Control S. Yep, now you can see. And as for the paragraph, we have for font size 18 pixel, line height 1.6. Now let's go back to our HTML file, and below this hero section, now we are creating another section which is id works section, class works. Actually this one would have been better if we just named it as poem section, but let's just move on. So one more thing actually I need to show. As you can see, we are using this comment to understand our text better. This is using by control and slash, so this will be comment. This won't actually show any part of the code. This will be helpful also for debugging purposes. Here I used h2. If you remember, I said we have h1 to h6 heading tags, so this h2 will be little bit of smaller than this h1 tag. And this is the, because I could not stop for death. This is a poem written by Emily Dickinson, and we do not want to make this normal text, right? So actually let me save this one, and I think I need a little bit of space in the bottom so that I can show you what is going on. As you can see here, this is a little bit of bolder text. For that we are using strong. Instead of, we can also use b tag, that will be also for bold. B stands for bold. Actually before continuing, let me create a section so that we can see better here. So I just use the default inline style CSS for height 300 pixel and width 100%. So if you see that the text is little bit of upside, we can see clearly. Okay, now let's go back to our where now we want a little bit of a line so that this divide us from the latter part of the poem. So for that we have HR or horizontal rule. This will create a rule for, and then we, instead of using p tag, we used pre. This will be the space that we had used, the comma, the, if you look closely, we did not use any br tag for these places. But if we save now, you can see this is already taking the space that we have used here, and this is showing exactly as it is written here. So this is for the exactly as we want. Pre-tag, below this pre-tag, let me show you button. So here read more, this will create a button of name read more. Okay, so let's style this section. As you can see, this section is already quite a big section. We'll have a lot of styling to do, I think. Okay, so for our work section, we have a class of dot work section, background color a little bit of gray, text align center, padding top and bottom 80 pixel, left and right 0, transition background color, little bit of smooth text. Okay, as you can see, this is already centered. Next, for this H2, we have this font size to 28 pixel, margin bottom 10 pixel, and then for the horizontal row, as you can see, this is not looking much nice. So white 50%, margin top 0 and left and right auto. This will center our horizontal rule, and as you can see here, this is already centered, and margin bottom 20 pixel. I think need a little bit of top margin, but let it be. Okay, and should I actually style a little bit more? uh, Next, let's move on next part of our section, next section. So below this section, this time we are going to show list item. So for that, we are going to use ordered list and unordered list. So I have id of list section and list section classes. We are going to, instead of directly going to ul, we are going to use div tag. Div is a block level element. This will be for to a container. Div element is actually a container for HTML element tag. This div tag, then h2 for unordered list, and then for unordered list we have ul unordered list, and inside of this unordered list we have list item li, where we have item 1, item 2, item 3. If we save this, as you can see, we have this disk, and this is kind of organized way showing this is an unordered list. We can actually control this whole styling from CSS and almost inline CSS and from here, but we'll do that later. Instead, we are going to create another ordered list, which will be also wrapped inside of a div, so that this does not overlap with any kind of elements we have here. H2 ordered list and ordered list, for that we have OL, and similar to unordered list we have list item, item 1, item 2, item 3. And if I click on save, as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3. Though we did not actually mention this 1, 2, 3, because this is an ordered list, this is already ordering according to the tag syntax. So let's style this little bit. Below our last section, we have this list section. Here we have this class of background color, white, text align center, padding top bottom 80 pixel, left right 0, transition background color 0.5 second. This will be little bit smoother. Display flags, so that this will take the horizontal space instead of vertically. And justify content space evenly, this will take the both section and even space. So if I click on save, if you can see that both section took even space, and even if I actually make it the full display, you can see it is still taking the same space, 50% to 50%. So for that, space evenly, justify content, and align item center will align it to centered from vertically. These are actually flexbox, all about flexbox. And okay, now let's move on to our next section. We will not continue here anymore. Next we have our table. So for that we have created table section, and if you remember from our navigation menu, we can actually go to different part, but I did not actually add all the section I created. So you can create uh, add in the navigation menu to make it more dynamic. Okay, so in our table, first create a h2 for table, then a table syntax. Inside of this table syntax, we will take table row, and before table row, we will use actually table head. So the section will be we can understand it bit a little bit better. Then we will use table row. Inside of this, we have table heading th, table heading, first name, last name, and age. If I save this, and if I go down here, you can see we are seeing something, but it's not actually giving any space, right? But the heading section is little bit of bolder text. So this is our row format. Table will move on row format, and later in our table body section, we can create by this t body, t head, t body. Okay, now we will use another table row. Table row, we are creating three table data, td all, td mujahid, so this first time, last time, and then the age. And we are going to create similarly another table row. Here I only change the table data. So if I save, you can see I have two first name same, al and mujahid and imran, they have different ages. But if you look closely, you can see that past time, last time is not required. This is actually both are the names, right? So we can use, actually remove this th, and instead of this last name, make it to the name and use call span 2. So this will create, as you can see. Actually, for better understanding, let me little bit of style first so that you can understand what is going on here. So first I'm just making the container. We have a little bit of different color and texting aligned to the center, padding top and bottom 80 pixel, left and right 0, transition, and then we are, as you can see, this table is a little bit of small, only in the left side of the screen. We wanted to make to the whole white, so we are making to table white 80%, margin top and bottom 0, and left and right auto. So this will take the left and right to auto and make it to the center automatically. And for border to appear, we are using table, table row, th, and td we had in our table. If you look, you can see table, table row, th, td, I'm targeting everything and creating a border 1 pixel solid black border, collapse, and padding 10 pixel. This will create a table with the line. Now here let me show you actually something. If I'm comment out this border collapse and then again save, you can see we have every section become, and every section will have their own new border. We do not want that, right? So for that, if we use border collapse, this will make the border as a single border. And when we used this call span, if we remove this section, this attribute, you can see the th is already taking only this part first, and this section is empty. So we do not want that, right? This name tag, we want to make it to large up to this space. And if we save this again, you can see it took the both column space. So for that, call span is stand for column span. If you look closely, we have two same name, right? So we can also span our row. So for that, let me remove this one and make it to row span 2. And if I save it, you can see I can make the column and row span. If I need, I can make it to larger 3, 4, up to how whatever and how much row we need. Based on that, how many row we can control that. Table section is done. Okay, last section of our today's class we are using section id contact section class contact section is to contact us. Where did my browser go? Okay, I don't know how did it go back, go down there. Okay, if I save this, why 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 what the I'm not sure why this. Oh, okay, I was actually, my mouse was focused on this, say on the browser, not on the on this code editor. Okay, so this is our last section, contact us. Here p tag, feel free to reach out to us if for any inter collaboration. This is little bit of p tag we have used. Then we have this form. Now you can see here something new we did not have before, right? Form, action, method, post. This is for when you want to submit the form to the database, or you mostly use the form for some information to save up to you or verify some information, right? So for that we need to use functionality, and that functionality will require php or javascript, but we are not focusing on any javascript or php any functionality today. We are only focusing on html and css basic overview, so we are not going in depth of html, javascript or any different language. So inside this form we are going to use label for name and input type text id name, and this will be required. So this required text, if we when a sub input field is not filled up, then our submit will fail. So this will be the input text, and similarly we have many more input type and different uh, form element. And as for this label, if we click on this actually label, you can see our input field is focused directly, so this helps for better control. Next, similarly will almost all element will have this label, but input type will be different. As you can see here we have email, and this one is also required. You can actually add this one, or remove this one if you do not want this. This will create an email, and it will only take the email format. Next, again label for phone, and this one will be type number. So if I save this, and okay, this this is kind of distorted, but you can see here when I press on any key other than numbers, that number will not actually uh, typed, only the number format will be shown here. Next form element is kind of interesting. As you can see, this is for subject, so this will first require a select. So this will be id name. This is optional, but option value, according to this, inside of this option value we will have different options. uh, as you can see, this will create a drop down menu. If we select this one, others or collaboration, whichever one we prefer. So this select for field actually creates this drop down menu that we want. Next we have label for date of birth, and this will input type date. Though last one was not input type, that was unique for drop down options, and this one is for type date only by key. Selecting type, this is optional actually. id and name, this is optional. This will be helpful for to submit data in the php server or anywhere you want. And now if we save it, you can see we have this date format. Also you can let me show something here in our input type text. You can see we can use a placeholder. If we use placeholder, we can see we have this uh, placeholder in our input form. So this is also actually for better control and for better show. Next form element is radio type. So inside of a div, I'm making it another. Uh, I'm inside of a container. Here I'm using bold tag for gender and input type radio. This is where name is actually crucial. If you see the name gender, if I uh, save this, I have this too. And let me change this gender to, let's say, genders. And now if I reload, when I click on the both items are selected, right? But we want only select to one, not the both. So if I keep the same name, and now if I switch between them, I can actually switch between. This will help to keep this one defaultly checked one, and you can also not check default one, so none of this item will be selected default way. Next we have label for message text area. This one is not input type but a text area. This one will create, if I save this and show, then you can see a big area to write message, and you can actually control this. Also you can set rows and columns from this here section. This is almost kind of like image tag. And next we have password. Label for password, input type password. Now what is this specialty for this input type? If you look closely, this one looks almost same to our input type text and in email, but if we type any number, text or anything, this will be in a password format, all of asterisk, right? Next we have label for subscribe. This is checkbox, input type checkbox, id, name. This is also similar to our radio button, radio actually element. This one will have to, if you have multiple checkbox, you can check control them using name and these items. Those checkbox can have multiple check items. So if I select, you can see defaultly this is checked, and I can uncheck this checkbox. And finally we have our submit button. So let us actually style this. So this our contact us section looks little bit of readable. This section has already got so much impacted that it is hard to understand what is going on here. First let's keep this max height of 600 pixel and margin top and bottom 0 and auto. If you know a little bit of CSS, you know if we have only two values, then first value will be top and bottom, and the second value will be the left and right side of the white. Okay, this is how this is currently looking. Next, make each label a block level, so that this, as you can see, every label will have their own row. Next, all the input type and text area will have width of 100%, padding top, bottom, left, right, all side 10 pixel, margin bottom 10 pixel, box sizing border box so that it does not get overflowed. Border radius 7 pixel. This will give a little bit of rounded corner. And here, little bit of rounded corner. Okay, next. For our radio button, you can see this is already vertical. We want to make it to the horizontally. So for that, input type radio, display inline block, width 10%. And if we save this, why do we I go back to the top? Okay, so this is not looking much good, but okay, let it be, right? And not but the least, our button, submit button will have background color of black, color white, padding top bottom 10 pixel and left right 20 pixel, border none, cursor pointer. So if I save this, you can see when I move here, our cursor gets pointer, transition, little bit of smooth transition, and when I hover over, our color background color of this button will change. So you can see this is changing, and if you see here, this button also get updated at the same time, because all the button element of this page will be targeted at the same time when we select an element of HTML. So for that, it is better to use classes and ID, so that if we want to target only the specific element, we can do that using the class and ID. So let me actually make it to the full screen, and if you can see, this is our whole section. We already have image, link, and then the H tag for better, for bold, and the heading tags. We have P tag for paragraph, we have tooltip, and then we have our pre tag, so that we, uh, we can get the actual way we want. Then we have horizontal row, we have button, we have ordered list, unordered list, table, row, column span, row span, and a form. And different type of actually form. We have text, email, this one is number, this one is select menu, drop down select menu actually, this one is date of birth, this one is uh what was this name? I forgot, radio. And this one is text area, password, and this one is for checkbox. So these are the most commonly used HTML tags, syntax, that are mostly used in any kind of website. And the CSS that you have seen here are the mostly used CSS syntax that used for styling default different CSS works. So if you try this work, I think you will understand it more easily, and practice it again and again. It will help you to understand CSS and HTML, how this works and how this one works with each other. So that is all for today. Thank you for staying with me. Allah Hafiz.